Confirm it. Is the human fleet destroyed?
Confirmed, sir. Nothing left but wreckage.
Then what is that sound?
Fleet Marshal Doran Voss had watched an entire human battle group vaporize into orbital debris that morning, and it was not the wreckage that unsettled him. It was the man humming through the wreckage 3 hours later, like he'd misplaced his car keys. My name is Frank Odell, and Tuesdays mean inventory day at Fleet Reserve Depot 7, so that's where I was, clipboard in hand, walking a scanner down row after row of retired hulls nobody's touched since I started this job. Coffee, in the other hand. Radio playing something with too much bass. I'd worked this yard for 6 years, and in that time I developed exactly one professional opinion. Whoever stamped decommissioned on half these hulls had never actually walked past them, because most of them ran fine. They just needed somebody to stop ignoring the maintenance schedule. Nothing about any of it felt special. It never does. Sensor Officer Thessarail caught the anomaly first, and she almost didn't report it, because it looked like a mistake. The destroyed human fleet, the one Vantrel command had spent 4 months and half a battle group confirming dead, was showing faint power blooms across 900 hulls that should have been cold slag. Not weapons hot. Not shielded. Just humming, the way something hums when someone's walking past it with a scanner and idly patting the hull like an old dog. She flagged it as sensor drift and moved on, because the alternative was worse, and she needed her coffee before she could think about the alternative. I tagged row 12 as still fine. Whoever thought this needed scrapping was an idiot, slapped a sticker on a destroyer hull the size of a shopping mall, and kept walking. It's not that I don't respect the ships. I just see 900 of them a week. You stop being impressed by mountains once you live in the Rockies. Dr. Olmec Sarn pulled the readings Thessa flagged and stared at them for 11 straight minutes without blinking, which for a Vantrel scientist is either deep concentration or a medical emergency. The power signatures weren't random. They were sequential, a slow, deliberate wake-up crawl moving hull to hull, row by row, like something was walking the graveyard and switching the lights back on one at a time. This isn't drift, he finally said. This is a maintenance pattern. Nobody on the bridge liked how calm his voice was when he said the word maintenance. If this was maintenance, what exactly was being maintained, and why did it look like an army waking up from a nap? I found a dead relay on hull 340, nothing serious, just old wiring, so I popped the access panel, rerouted power from the auxiliary core because that's faster than filling out a requisition form, and the whole ship blinked awake, running lights and all, like I'd goosed it. There we go, I said to nobody and wrote fixed minor fault on my clipboard. Moved to the next one. That was the moment hull 340 stopped reading as scrap and started reading, on every Vantrel scanner 3 systems away, as a fully operational capital ship with live weapons arrays. Thessa's console lit up so fast she spilled her drink. Marshal, she said, that ship was supposed to be a corpse an hour ago. Fleet Marshal Voss didn't answer right away because he was busy doing the math nobody wanted to do out loud. If one board technician could revive a warship by accident on a lunch break, using what looked like hand tools, how many more of these dead hulls were actually just sleeping? Recall the strike wing, Thessa said, already reaching for the comm before Voss gave the order. If that was an accident, I don't want to see what he does on purpose. Voss didn't recall anything yet. He wanted to believe this was a fluke, one lucky technician with a lucky screwdriver, and he said as much out loud, mostly to hear how it sounded. It sounded terrible. Sarn was already pulling a wider scan, and his hands, Thessa noticed, were not steady anymore. Dr. Sarn ran the count twice because the first number seemed like an error. Depot 7 held 11,400 human warships, not 900. 11,400, stacked in rows that stretched past the horizon of every skin they had, and every single one of them was listed in Vantrel intelligence under a single innocuous label, retired. The battle group we destroyed this morning, Sarn said slowly, wasn't their fleet. It was their trash. Nobody on the bridge said anything for a long time because there wasn't a good follow-up question. There was only a worse one. I finished row 12 through 40 by lunch, which put me ahead of schedule, so I radioed it into depot control the way I always do. Frank here, rows 12 through 40, all green, couple of relays needed a kick, nothing major. Back to it after lunch. I did not mention the humming. I did not mention that I'd been rerouting cores all morning because the requisition system takes 4 days to approve a form for a 9-cent fuse. It wasn't information anyone needed. It was just Tuesday. Fleet Marshal Voss finally understood what green meant on a human status board, and it broke something in him quietly, the way a very old bridge breaks. No sound, just a slow give. Green didn't mean fine. Green meant one man, alone, with a scanner and a lukewarm coffee, had personally certified 11,000 warships combat-ready before his lunch break, using tools that looked like they belonged in a garage. There was no fleet command overseeing this. There was no elite division. There was Frank. There was only ever Frank and a clipboard and a radio that played music with too much bass, and somehow that was the entire defensive posture of an entire reserve armada, humming itself awake because a bored man patted it on the way past. "The battle we won this morning," Thessa said, very quietly, staring at the number 11,400 like it might change if she looked away and back, "was against their scrap heap. Their actual reserve fleet is bigger than our active one. And it just woke up because somebody was bored." Dr. Sarn didn't answer. He was too busy recalculating what human military capacity meant when the discard pile alone could field more ships than the entire Vantrel Ascendancy, and the discard pile had apparently been getting routine maintenance the whole time, from a guy on minimum wage inventory duty who thought scrapping any of it would be, in his own written words, an idiotic waste. He pulled up the Ascendancy's full active roster next to Depot 7's inventory count, side by side, just to be sure, and then he sat back from the display and didn't touch it again. 12,000 Vantrel warships, built across 4 centuries, crewed by an entire species that had organized its whole civilization around the fleet. 11,400 human warships, sitting in a single reserve yard on a single world, that one government apparently considered surplus. Nobody on the bridge asked what the active fleet looked like. Nobody wanted the answer that badly. I clocked out at 5, same as always, told the guy at the gate it was a slow day, all things considered, and drove home with the radio still too loud. Somewhere behind me, 11,400 warships sat quietly humming in their rows, fully operational, completely unguarded except by inventory paperwork and my mild disappointment that nobody around here labels anything properly. I didn't think about it twice. I never do. It's just Tuesdays. Fleet Marshal Doran Voss stared at the report until the letters stopped making sense, then ordered a full withdrawal from the sector, effective immediately, no further engagement authorized under any circumstances. When his aide asked what should go in the official log as the reason for retreat, Voss thought about the humming and the clipboard and the 9-cent fuse and said only, "Tell them we found the real fleet. Tell them it does inventory on Tuesdays." Back at the depot, someone had finally fixed the label on row 12. It now read, in Frank's handwriting, "Still fine, don't touch." Some idiot marked this for scrap. Underneath it, in smaller letters, he'd added a note for whoever pulled the next shift. "Relays on this row run hot. Kick M if they stall. Don't file a form. It just wastes everybody's Tuesday." I heard later, secondhand, that the whole sector got quiet for a while after that. Figured it was budget cuts. Wouldn't be the first time.